Hi, I'm Brittany, and in this video I'll be highlighting and discussing the issue of poverty within 3 countries in South America. These include Colombia, Bolivia, and Paraguay. First country we'll discuss is Colombia. Colombia's population is approximately 46,039,000. Extreme poverty is found there with differing rates in rural and urban areas. Rural areas have 19.1% people living in extreme poverty compared to a lower percentage of 6% in urban areas. 42.8% of the rural population are poor compared to 26.9% in urban areas. Colombia is also the 3rd most unequal country and the 10th unequal country in the world. You may be wondering why there is such a large difference between the poverty rates in rural and urban areas. There are several reasons why there's a large difference between poverty rates in rural and urban areas. Land concentration is biased toward big landowners, which negatively affects rural and small-scale farmers. Forced displacement is a large issue in rural areas where around 8 million hectares of land have been abandoned by people fleeing from conflict. Unequal land ownership deprives farmers from making money and builds income inequality. Very few people work in the formal sector, so they do not have access to health care or pension benefits. Insecurity and inadequate social services makes the income poverty even worse. Of the 9.8 million people living in Bolivia, almost 40% live in extreme poverty. Bolivia is one of the poorest countries in South America, where 82% of rural people are below the poverty line compared to 54% in urban areas. Over 60% do not have access to drinking water and sewage services. 58% of Bolivian families live in slums that don't meet the minimum living conditions, lacking basic services and sanitation. 41% of the people in Bolivia have unsatisfied basic needs. This means having 3 or more of the following: low housing qualities, lack of drinking water, sanitation, electric light, and education. So why is there a difference between these 2 areas in Bolivia? The rural areas have low productivity because metro production is done on using solely small-scale techniques, as well as many rural areas lack the most basic infrastructure, including water management systems and road systems, not to mention the lack of education and healthcare services. Other issues that Bolivia struggles with is the relatively high under-5 mortality rate, severe chronic malnutrition, low rates of education, and a lack of access to safe water, if any at all, and sanitation. The next country to discuss is Paraguay. Paraguay struggles with poor access to land, markets, and financial services, deterioration of natural resources and loss of soil fertility, and limited access to appropriate technologies and quality technical assistance. So what are the solutions? The World Bank has just approved a $100 million loan to help Paraguay improve social welfare programs and expand its social safety net for the poor. They also agreed on a new country partnership strategy for 2015 to 2018 that supports to reduce extreme poverty to 9%. Other solutions include the Sustainable Rural Development Project, which aims to contribute to improving the quality of life of small farmers and indigenous communities. The project to modernize water and sanitation sector, with funding for $64 million, aims to improve sector management and water and sanitation services. Meanwhile, Bolivia has a project called the Reduction of Extreme Poverty in Rural Areas. This works to improve the necessary infrastructure and services, as well as provide food to rural communities. Food for the Hungry program helps to reduce health issues, and the WBG supports energy, urban development, climate change, employment, and social protection. With these solutions, there has been some improvement seen in both Colombia and Paraguay. In Colombia, there's a decrease in monetary poverty by 28.5%. That's 1,155 million people. There's also a decrease in extreme monetary poverty by 8.1%. Paraguay has made significant progress lowering its poverty rate, which has fallen from 32% to 24% in 3 years between 2011 and 2014. Over the past decade, Paraguay has become one of the fastest growing economies in Latin America, and in 2013, its economy grew at a rate of 14.2%. It is clear that there are still major issues around poverty within these countries. However, with sufficient programs developed, these issues can be minimized, at the very least, over time. Thanks for watching!
Created using Powtoon.